brand new flagship £155,000 Porsche Cayenne Turbo e-hybrid with the GT package. Hopefully you've seen my recent Cayenne e-hybrid video where I road test the Cayenne S e-hybrid and the Cayenne Turbo e-hybrid. Unlike the pre-facelift Turbo GT Cayenne Coupe, in this recently facelifted version, we in the UK can't get the new Turbo GT. So instead, Porsche offer us a GT package on top of the Turbo e-hybrid. Essentially, that means that this car has the majority of the ingredients that your Turbo GT would have anyway, but with the hybrid running gear. Underneath the bonnet, we'll find a 4-litre V8 twin turbo, and that's mated to an 8-speed automatic gearbox. But between the combustion engine and the 8-speed automatic gearbox, there is an electric motor. They produce a combined maximum output of 739 horsepower and 950 Newton meters of torque, which is just absolute insanity. Those two figures are the same output that you would get in, let's call it the regular Turbo e-hybrid. But one of the main benefits of the GT package is Porsche have somehow managed to strip out 100 kilos. That's the same as stripping out one of me. And they've done that in a number of ways. Carbon ceramic brakes, standard fit, lightweight wheels, we've got a carbon roof, titanium exhaust, and a number of other small things that, as I say, have added up to a rather big amount. But saying that, the base Turbo e-hybrid weighs about 2.5 tons. So this is still 2.4 tons, which is heavy, but it's a lot lighter than, say, something like BMW's XM, which off memory is about 2.8 tons. Porsche claim that this will do the 0 to 62 sprint in just 3.6 seconds, and we'll test that out on the main straight of the circuit just behind me a little bit later. Something else that's part of the GT package, aside from all of that weight saving, is the adjustments, hardware and software, that they've made to the chassis setup of this car. In theory, it should turn in much keener than the regular Turbo. It sits 10 millimeters lower, so the center of gravity is lower. So not only are we saving weight, that weight is lower down. They've played around with things like the rear axle steering, all these small little changes, which they did in the previous generation Turbo GT, which you could feel instantly. So it'll be interesting to see if that translates to this e-hybrid version. The GT package cars are only available as a coupe and not a traditional SUV shape. And although we've just talked about this being the highest performance version of the new Cayenne, at least in the UK, we can't forget that it is still a hybrid, and it still retains in the boot floor a 25.9 kilowatt hour battery that will give this car a realistic electric only range of about 50 miles. So that's really useful. And that's about 175 horsepower as well. So it'll keep up with the traffic with no issues whatsoever. So if you've got your 30-40 mile commute every day, you can do it if you want in electric only, or as with so many hybrids, you can do massively long journeys using the combustion engine and the fuel tank. And then when you get to a town and a city like London, you can knock it into e-drive and you cruise around in electric only. And I think that's really impressive because on one hand, this is a near 750 horsepower monster, but on the other, it's just a very subtle electric car and it might fly under the radar. Before my nose gets too burnt in this beautiful sunshine, let's jump inside and see what it's like on the road, and then later we'll take it out on the track. It's no secret that the pre-facelift Turbo GT was one of my absolute favourite SUVs. In fact, that's underselling that car. It was one of my favourite packages that I've ever had the pleasure of driving. It reminded me very much of BMW's M5 CS, and that's about the biggest compliment, at least I can give any car. let's just talk about what the driving position's like and what the cabin's like. Well, if you've watched my main Cayenne e-hybrid video, you'll know that I'm very impressed with this updated interior. It is a shame that there's no analog dials left, like there is in, say, the current 992.1 911s. You've got that lovely analog rev counter. That's gone, but everything in here is really nice. All the materials are lovely to touch, and obviously this being the GT package, well, there's just more Alcantara or whatever Porsche call it absolutely everywhere. Headlining, dashboard, the wheel. I mean, I go on about Porsche wheels all the time. This is even better. I think they've made it a little bit thinner. It's just lovely. We've got a yellow strip at the top, and it's lovely to touch. It's lovely to look at. It's just perfection. The driving position itself is good. I am feeling like I'm sitting a little bit higher than I should be, and I'm not talking about the fact that I'm in an SUV, because obviously I am sitting higher, but I do feel like the seat could be mounted a little bit lower, but that's not a problem. And I've still got a couple of inches of headroom above me, so even if you're 6'6", 6'7", I'm sure you'll have no issues in here whatsoever. So the cabin, the interior, driving position, all gets a big tick for me. I'm in Sport Plus. I'm also in manual, so I do the shifting with these paddles. I've got the traction control systems in the halfway house. I think they call it PSM. So it allows a little bit of slip, a little bit of movement, which is definitely going to be enough for the public road, because I'm not going to drive this too hard here, because I'm going to take it out on track. But on the road, what does it feel like? Does it feel more special than the regular turbo e-hybrid? I hate calling that a regular turbo, because it's still ridiculously capable. But this, remember, it's 100 kilos lighter. It's had a lot of adjustments done to the chassis, hardware and software, so it should feel better, and it does. Just like the Turbo GT, its predecessor, not direct predecessor. That car, from the second I pulled out of Porsche Guildford, that felt a little bit more special than any other Cayenne I'd driven before it. And the more time I spent with that car, the bigger that gap got. And exactly like this one, jumping straight out of a wonderful turbo and into the one with the GT package, it just feels more immediate. Everything feels a bit more organic and less artificial as well. So the handling feels more natural, if that makes sense. Whereas in the lesser S model and the turbo model, it all feels a little bit artificial. This car just feels lovely. You can place it exactly where you want, and straight away it's encouraging me to go faster. I'm not encouraging the car is actually encouraging me. It really is. It's just lovely. Really, really lovely, lovely. Something else that this benefits from, and something that I've discovered in other sporty SUVs like BMW's X5M, Audi's RSQ8, Porsche's Cayenne Coupe GTS and the Turbo GT, yes, I have just said that once again, is the commanding driving position. And although it doesn't initially feel sporty sitting this high, once you get around the fact that this car is super capable, you actually benefit from the commanding driving position. You can see further down the road along your twisty A or B road. Even on motorways, in fact, you can see what the traffic's doing in front of several cars down the road, and that's actually a good thing in terms of safety, because if you see someone hitting their brakes miles ahead and you're looking that far ahead, then you can prepare rather than relying on the car directly in front of you, because if you're in a low sports car, you can't see through that. And so that is a small benefit, definitely, for bigger SUVs, and it's definitely a benefit when you're pushing on along a road like this, because you can see a little bit further around corners, you can see a little bit further over low hedgerows and stuff, and it does make driving fast a little bit easier and a little bit safer. We know this has a frankly ridiculous 739 horsepower and an equally ridiculous 950 newton meters of torque. I'm never going to get my head around those figures. And we also know that Porsche claimed this would do the 0 to 62 sprint in just 3.6 seconds. Remember, this weighs around 2.4 tons. Let's go and see what it actually do 0 to 60 in, because I have my Racebox Mini GPS with me and we have access to a circuit and a main straight. So let's go and test that out, and then you can join me back here on this fantastic piece of tarmac. Now we're on a closed circuit, so let's test out this car's claimed acceleration figures. Porsche say it will do the 0 to 62 sprint in just 3.6 seconds. Racebox Mini is ready to go. Got all the traction control systems switched off. I'm in Sport Plus. My left foot is hard down on the brake. My right foot is on the accelerator. Here we go. And there's 60 miles an hour. In fact, there's 100. Let's have a look at that time. 3.3 seconds to 60 miles an hour. Wow. Absolutely nuts. 3.3 seconds. I mean, that was, and that is hypercar territory. And I bet you that this would do it in 3.4, 3.5 seconds in torrential rain. I mean, it has so much grip. It's unreal. That's so impressive. It also has a claimed top speed of 305 kilometers per hour, which I worked out to be about 190 miles an hour, which is, once again, mad, but so impressive. And at least for German customers, I mean, that's going to be really handy if you use the Autobahn a lot. Let's go and see what this is like on track, and then you can join me back here on this wonderful road for my conclusion. Out on circuit in the turbo with the GT package. Let's see what this is like. I was out here earlier on in the regular turbo without the GT package, and that was impressive, but I can already tell you that this is better. The front end grip it has is unreal, and I think these are meant to come on P0 Corsas, but this particular car is just on regular P0s, and the grip, wow. So you can feel the better chassis working straight away. You can feel the fact that it has thrown 100 kilos out of its boot, or out of its everywhere. Wheels, roof, brakes, exhaust, you name it. Oh, it's far more focused, really is. It's unreal. I thought the regular turbo was good. This is just ridiculous. It really is. Wow. It's 125 miles an hour. of people question cars like this, and I can understand why, because what is it trying to be? It's trying to be everything. And somehow Porsche have managed to squeeze a good amount of everything out of it. So it's a very comfortable car when you want it to be, and you knock everything back into normal. It will do 50 miles in electric range only, which is just crazy and ridiculous and very useful and very handy. But yet, if you put it up into Sport or Sport Plus and you knock the traction back and put it into manual, well, it becomes unbelievably good on a road like this and unbelievably good around a track. And I mean, no one's going to be tracking one of these. Well, there might be a handful of people that are crazy enough to do that. And fair enough, yes, it's only good for 2 or 3 hard laps or hot laps before everything gets too hot. But up until that point, its performance is just mind-blowing. It's staggeringly good. It really is super, super capable. And I wish that I had a bit more time on track, because I'd literally done 3 or 4 laps around that circuit before I jumped in this car, and so I don't know it very well at all. Does it replace the Turbo GT? Hand on heart, I'd have to say, off muscle memory, which is a bit distant now because I think that was about 2 years ago, the Turbo GT is still the better sports car. But this, as a package with that amazing hybrid system and those 50 miles of electric only range, I mean, you know, that sways it as a usable vehicle, and will definitely sway it for a lot of company car users or company directors, etc. It's going to help you. Yes, it's maybe not quite as good as the outgoing Turbo GT, as far as I'm concerned, because it does weigh an extra couple of 100 kilos, but it still feels extremely good and a lot better than I thought it would when I was on the plane over here yesterday, because in my head I was just thinking hybrid systems, they're going to be heavy, they're going to, you know, not kill the car because it's still a Porsche and they've got some very clever engineers there, but it's not going to feel as good. And I have to say, it feels 95% as good as the non-hybrid Turbo GT, and I think that's the biggest compliment you could give this car, and it's certainly something that I didn't think I'd say when I got here yesterday. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's been a little bit rushed, I have to admit, and I've been reliant on Porsche's B-roll and flybys and stuff, so I'm sure they're very, very good. But yeah, I'm going to go back and reset my brain a little bit at the hotel before we go out and have probably another fantastic dinner. It's been a lovely, lovely trip out here, I have to say. What is it, middle of October, it's 27.5 degrees at 5:30. I mean, it's just amazing, it really is. Look at that pretty tree on another completely different note. That is really, really pretty. Anyway, take it easy, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. As always, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. I'll see you at another one very, very soon. Cheers.